Hello everyone, this is Player Dandy recording on Dandy TCG, and today I have a video regarding the announcement for the 2019 Pokemon TCG format rotation. Now yesterday TPCI released this statement on their events page, basically detailing the particulars for the format for the upcoming season. Now this doesn't go effective until after Worlds, so this goes effective September 1st, and the Worlds weekend is the weekend right before in August, last weekend of August. Even though the season does start until in July for people trying to get a head start on next season, but beginning September 1st, the standard format will be Sun and Moon onward. This isn't a surprise to many people following the game, but if you're looking to get into the game or been out for it for a while and you want to play in the tournaments, sanctioned tournaments, you're going to be looking to play Sun and Moon onward. Now, also later in this video, I'll be going over some of the cards we lose in this format, going into this format, and some of the impacts that this format rotation has on the current card pool, and maybe some winners and losers coming out of that. It's hard to speculate because we don't know the next Japanese set that comes out in June, first week of June. I'll have a better picture then, but right now I'll go over some of the current meta decks that get impacted by this announcement. Now, Sun and Moon onward means we lose the rest of the XY era. We'll also lose the XMI Blockstar promos. And another interesting thing is, for the expanded format, there has been no change, meaning that Black and White onward is still the format we'll be playing next season. While expanded doesn't have as many events as standard, it's still a tournament format, regional format in some areas, so it's something to keep a lookout for if you play in those types of events. Now, I brought up some cards on Pokemon Trading Card Game Online, and I just want to go over some key cards we lose. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list. Rather, I just picked out some cards I thought were relevant, somewhat relevant towards the end of this format that we will be losing. Some of them are kind of a stretch because they were viable beginning of the season, but not so much anymore. But as you can see on the top of the list, we lose two Zoruas from let's see, Breakthrough. Let's see. Yeah, we lose Breakthrough, Breakpoint, Steam Siege, Fates Collide, Evolutions. What else did we lose? See, XY series, yeah. Evolution, Steam Siege, Fates Collides, Generations, Breakpoint, and Breakthrough. So yeah, we do lose these Zoruas. These were used in mainly the mono dark decks that use Zoroark Break and Sneasel, because they could utilize Moonless Madness and Whiny Voice over, say, was it Tackle, the double colorless one from which set was that? Black and not Black and White, Sun and Moon set. So, yeah. Of course, it's the promo one. Oh yeah, Ram. There you go. Because they could utilize those stall attacks and disruption attacks, but really fringe. I mean, Ram is also good too, but mainly though we lose the stand-in Zoroark with Mind Jack. This gave a lot of Zoroark GX builds, the ability to go into a single prize attacker that could punish opponents for going wide on their bench. Usually take out GX and EX Pokemon for two for one prize exchange, and also give you a free pivot if you had a Floatstone attached to it. So Zoroark will be a big hit to losing Zoroark stand-in will be kind of a big hit to Zoroark GX decks. Also, we'll be losing the Zoroark Break, which again was used mainly in the mono dark decks that used Zoroark Break and Sneasel Foul Play was great at copying GX attacks or just these big attacks, taking return knockouts that your opponents use on like Buzzwoles, like Absorption or Knuckle Impacts, just bounce it back right on them for a return KO, and again providing a 2-for-1 exchange in your favor. Also, we'll be losing the cycle of Gardevoir EXs, Life Leap 1, and the Link Blast 1. These weren't really too relevant, but I guess maybe some of this Mega Gardevoir EX with the Despair Ray kind of saw some play again towards the fringe play towards the end of this season, but not too much. But they were some cards to look out for. Again, we're going to be losing the Xerneas cycle here. The Rainbow Force 1 was an archetype that was pretty good beginning of the season and last season, but hasn't seen too much play lately. But what did see more play recently was the return of the Geomancy Xerneas that went well into the Xerneas Break livestream Xerneas that kind of saw some success midway through the season, could deal with certain decks, and also had nice typing against the Zoroark GXs. Another card that's going out is, I believe, Zygarde EX, unless it was reprinted. I'm not too sure. I know it was reprinted as a promo, but I'm not sure if it's still legal or not. Lance Pulse. This is a good alternative attacker in Buzzwole decks, Buzzwole Guard particularly. It has a grass weakness, so somewhat typing weakness variety, so that way you won't be zoned in on psychic weak attackers. We also, the Gallade Gardevoir line, or else line, loses the Premonition Gallade. Really gave, again, variety in the Gardevoir GX decks because they could hit for, they have a viable one prize attacker. They can smooth out their draws, which is particularly important in a stage 2 deck. And again, it also gave up one prize. Garchomp decks, unfortunately, even though the newest Garchomp got reprinted as a fighting type in the newest set in Forbidden Light, we will be losing this Garchomp. Turbo Assault and Bite Off. Really good attacks, particularly Turbo Assault, because it could swing in for 90 with a choice band on an EX or GX, and then 110 with a strong energy and whatever pumps you want to continue on it, while also pumping up the new Garchomps, which required 2 energies to attack. With that nice Cynthia synergy, but they'll be losing this Garchomp. We'll see how that deck adapts in the next format. Again, losing some other heavy hitters. Volcanion. The Volcanion deck is rotating out. This deck has been a force to be reckoned with ever since its release. It's been topping the majority, if not all. One managed to sneak in to nearly all, if not all, of the international championships the past couple seasons. And it's just a really reliable attacker. The Baby Volcanion. Also need to pull up the Volcanion EX. Steam ability just lets the fire decks reach numbers they couldn't really hit before. Volcanic Heat also a threatening attack, and it's also, as mentioned, Volcanion doesn't need to be the highlight or the main attacker of the deck, but in Ho-Oh, Kiawe decks and Salamence decks sometimes, just Volcanion having the ability to pump up damage really meant a lot to the particular fire decks. Magnezone, Magnetic Circuit got reprinted as more or less reprinted as, again, a Lightning one and a Steel one, so not too much loss there. Espeon EX, which saw a lot of hype at the beginning of the season with the Espeon Garbliss and Grand Grandpa Garbliss because of the Miraculous Shine ability. Previously, those decks were reliant on stacking damage, spreading damage around the board, and then setting up a big Miraculous Shine turn to de-evolve a bunch of Pokemon into like 60 HP basics or low HP stage 1s. But those decks kind of shied away from Espeon EX, but still saw some play even to the current state of the format right now. But we'll be losing that in rotation. Some other big psychic hits. Mew, Memories of Dawn Mew, used in a lot of decks to cover psychic weaknesses. Used against other fighting decks that have psychic weakness. particularly Buzzwole mirror matches, but could also enable decks like Passimian to have another varied attacker to copy Passimian's attacks. Same thing with Mew EX. Versatile is such a good ability, could copy GX attacks or Riotous Beating to give return knockouts on Buzzwoles or any opposing Psychic Weak Pokemon. So that's a big hit to those types of decks. And finally, Mewtwo from Evolutions, the classic retrain with the Psychic ability, able to knock out fully powered Buzzwoles, GXs, and anything else weak to Psychic that would have to pile on energies. And speaking of those Grandpa Garb decks, they'll be losing this Trubbish with the Acid Spray attack that could potentially that had some niche plays if you were kind of stuck. It was kind of stuck in the active. You had nothing else to do. Acid Spray could sometimes tack on some good damage with a Choice Band and Psychic Weakness, and also set your opponent back a turn by taking out the energy. But there's still a mill Trubbish and Sun and Moon, but this was definitely the better one. Also, we will be losing Wobbuffet with the Bide Barricade ability. This helped certain decks set up easier because they could hide behind the stall with the Wobbuffet, and even sometimes attack with Psychic Assault if they had the energy to. But usually the decks that ran Wobbuffet in the current format just use it for the stalling attack or stalling ability. Here's also the reprint version. Some more notables. We used the entire Greninja line from the break cycle, from the break subsets. Froakie, the best one with Bubble. With water duplicates Frogadier to set up those huge spammy boards of Greninjas with the Shadow Stitching to keep your opponents in check, kind of shut them out of the game, slow down the game to Greninja's pace, and then start taking on damage with Moonlight Slash, combining it with the Greninja GX Water Streakin'. This deck, again, like similar to how Volcanion has had a showing ever since its release, Greninja has been a constant threat throughout the entire standard format. Really made players have to tech in Greninja Break, or not Greninja Break, sorry, Giratina, the Giratina that resisted break abilities. So next up we have a Glaceon EX. Not really, kind of saw some play in Glaceon GX decks, but not too much. Crystal Wave was a good attack the last couple seasons, but really got kind of power creep towards the current format. Manaphy with the resurgence of Aqua Patch, their Aqua Box style decks with the new Volcanion Prism Star. Unfortunately, we'll be losing a free Retreater and healer attack, but some decks are cutting it because too much of a liability at 120 HP. Another huge hit, the Octillery line, Abyssal Hand. Great constant flow of cards throughout the game, which have it set up. Gave a lot of meta decks particularly, extra reach when it came to refueling their hand. We lose the Starmie line that Greninja ran. Had a free Retreater, and then the ability to recycle water energies over and over that really made it annoying to deal with. Moving on to the trainer side, by items we lose Evo Soda. Some decks ran Evo Soda, particularly Zoroark GX decks. Max Elixir, huge impact on the format. Really gives Buzzwole decks a lot of threatening turn 2 attacks. Could go into GX if they're running hot, or just come back if they really use them in the mid game. Puzzle Time, another big hit that we're gonna lose in the standard. It gave Zoroark GX decks the ability to just spam out cards they don't actually need at that moment, and then just reuse them again with Puzzle Time. Or if they're getting hated out by Enhanced Hammers, they could sometimes have the resilience to get back a special charge, or just get back the DCEs to keep on attacking through any other disruption cards. Random Receiver, hasn't seen too much play in recent formats, but interesting that got reprinted and really give some sort of combo decks or consistent decks. Combo decks the consistency they needed. Red card, not really doing too much in standard. It has been doing a lot of expanded, but in standard we already have N, so hasn't been seeing too much play lately. Special charge been seeing play in Zoroark, Lycanroc decks and other decks that use special energy, but losing this really might losing this plus puzzle time might hit a lot of special energy reliant decks. Super Rod, another interesting reprint that we'll most likely see reprint, but we'll have to see. Shuffling any 3 basics and energies is really good for decks that go into the late game or you have to ditch cards with Sycamore early on and hopefully get them back. Town Map, not seeing too much play lately, but certain decks maybe Sylveon would you use it. Fairy Garden, not too many uses lately, but Gardevoir decks sometimes use it. Parallel, another big stadium, probably the most impactful stadium on this list. Has so many uses for decks that I put them in sometimes. Usually in Espeon GX and Garbodor decks. Sometimes in Zoroark builds, but the ability to put your opponent down to 3 Pokemon really limits how they could maneuver around certain situations, or even paralleling yourself down to 3 to cut off certain prize liabilities on your bench is really good. Also, the flip side of it, to reduce damage in certain matchups like Greninja and Volcanion, like Ho-Kiawe. Next up, Reverse Valley. Saw some play, but particularly for the dark boosting attack damage. There's Devoured Field though. Scorch Earth, again, fire decks like Ho-Kiawe, Volcanion sometimes use it to just kind of keep refilling their hand, keep going when they sometimes get flooded with too many fires. And now going on to the supporters, probably the biggest card hit is N. Yes, we are finally, after a couple of seasons we were losing N. It's a big hit to the supporter lineup and really changes how the game in standard will be played. This could be used to just take a mulligan on your hand if you didn't like it in the opening, or if you didn't want to discard anything. Also helped in the mid to late game when you need to come back from heavy prize deficit by cutting off your opponent from so many resources. Hopefully we'll see some sort of N reprint, or maybe Team Rocket Admin, or some sort of other disruption card that could help people bring back into the game. Another huge hit, Professor Sycamore. Maybe the format will slow down if we don't get another discard draw, but having to discard your hand and draw 7 really sped up a lot of decks, though. A lot of decks haven't been relying on it lately due to the prevalence of Zoroark GX, but definitely discard draw 7 is really broken. Skyla, certain decks like Bulu or decks that run on rare candies or certain items that they need to access will be losing this. Came as a full art in the break cycle. Disruption decks take a big hit. Control decks mainly, like Quad Hoopa or like Sylveon. Team Flare Grunt losing their discard there. Team Handiwork, Team Rocket's Handiwork, the win con for those decks sometimes. And again, some decks ran this, particularly Greninja decks that wanted to get under in the mirror match, or just get Greninja out faster if that's how the player preferred to play the deck. It's Wally. Not too much play in the current format, but does see some play in, again, Greninja decks. We're losing Bursting Balloon. Bursting Balloon was used in most notably the Zoroark Garbodor decks that have been popping up here and there throughout the season, second half of the season, but didn't really start to see success until actually more recently, the last couple months. Fortunate that deck will be losing that. And Fighting Fury Belt, one of the biggest cards one of the biggest Pokemon tools to come out in a while until the coming of choice ban. But Funny Fear Belt was the tool of choice. Still see some play in decks that want to get ahead on want to get some longer lasting Buzzwoles out there in the mirror match, but a lot of decks could reach certain numbers now that the plus 40 sometimes became irrelevant, and choice band is more the aggressive choice in the current format. And this is probably the other huge hit. The reprint of Floatstone a couple seasons ago really made it easier for decks to pivot, and again we'll be losing this pivot, and a lot of people will probably be taking it for granted. Floatstone giving free retreat and enabling all these plays with Guzma and stand-in or what's that? Dawn Wings in the Karasma, the one that has Russian retreat. Basically, so many ways to pivot into different plays or different Pokemon to escape status conditions. Floatstone's a huge loss. Maybe we'll see reprinted, but I won't really tell until June. And if we do lose it, it'll be kind of that awkward time when there's no easy pivot. Though we do have 4 Guzman now, as opposed to before. And heading on to the energies, we'll be losing strong energy, a huge hit to fighting decks, huge hit to Buzzwole decks. Buzzwole Lycanroc. We'll see how they adapt. Splash energy, not really used on in other decks other than Greninja, but huge hit to those decks, but they're leaving, so not too big of a deal, I guess. Now I want to go into some speculation and some analysis on how this rotation will impact the current card pool and potentially some upcoming cards. Now this is just some cards, some decks that might benefit from this rotation, some that are hurt. We can't really know for sure until we see the June lineup how our sets will look in September, and maybe some of these choices will definitely change depending on how that set looks. But here are just some of my picks of some winners and losers in the set and how this impacts current meta decks or played decks. Drampa might be seeing more play with the big wheel, so you could draw the ability to just mug in your hand and just draw 10 cards, just reload on a slow turn might be more viable now that we're losing some key draw supporters. Orgrew, same thing, gives you some extra reach in the late game if you're drawing dead or drawing cards that you don't necessarily need. Might be useful in a format with no Octillery and again no other good forms of draw. Hoopa takes a hit, perhaps losing some disruption, but there's some alternatives. So again, Zoroark decks might be more prevalent than before. Even that's hard to imagine because trade is such a good ability after losing so many good supporters. Maybe Noivern will see some play since there's a lot of dragon support coming in the coming months in the Japan particularly has their dragon set out now with like Lance and Zinnia. Maybe they'll be printing a double dragon energy in the future. We'll see. Sylveon decks again taking a hit, losing their disruption cards in the win con, but we'll see if it can adapt in the upcoming format. Glaceon GX again, because Zoroark might be seeing more play, so maybe Glaceon will see more play to turn off opposing Zoroark's decks. So Leafeon, not really too sure about this one, but I'm not sure the format will slow down damage wise just because we lose strong energy, but the heal ability sometimes drops numbers, stops Okos from happening, so we'll see if that becomes relevant. Gardevoir GX, even though they lose Gallade and Octillery, there may be like just Secret Spring is such a huge there's a threatening ability. Infinite Forest can deal tons of damage, and Twilight GX enabling to recycle your cards in a format where we lose puzzle time. It's looking good. Buzzwole, not too sure. Yeah, we lose strong energy and Octillery, but I'm sure this deck will adapt. It just has like Beast Ring is just such a good item, and its attacks are so energy efficient that it's a card that we'll definitely still see play in some form or another. But Simeon again losing Mew, we'll see if that deck can continue on or if it'll still be relevant. Zygarde GX has Bonnie, so might see more play. Lucario will be losing Pivot, so I'm not sure if Gliscod Garb is where you want to be, but we still have Guzma, so Lucario is just another way that you could threaten those kind of style decks with like hit and run, like kind of bounce kind of decks might be survivable. Lycanroc, Max. Oh, also Max Lux. We lost those types of decks. Lux, Buzzwalls or sorry, Buzzwall Lycanroc lost Max Lux 2, but Bloodthirsty Eyes again such a good ability. We'll see if the strong energy hit and the Max Elixir hit will be enough to put this deck into the ground, but we'll see. Again, Garchomp losing that mana energy recycling or energy powering of the old Garchomp, so we'll see how this deck fares. Ho-Oh and Salazzle. I said Salamence last time, huh? Ho-Oh, Salazzle taking a hit with the loss of Volcanion, but maybe Kiawe can still carry them. Again, Gliscod losing Floatstone, but again, another efficient attacker that can kind of loop if we have cards like Guzma and Astral already, so we'll see. Lurantis maybe see some play again if the format slows down, but I'm not too sure. Again, same thing with the Decidueye GX. These got some reprints from the Magazone. So Celesteela GX, that's an Ultra Beast, so there's Beast Energy and like again Ultra or Beast Ring. Definitely still see play. I think Steel might be a winner in this format. One of the winners in this format because they may lose anything. Again, going with the Metal Cycle, got Duskmane, Necrozma, Kartana, Solgaleo, Prism Star. This card makes the deck go around with Radiant Star, and it could even attack with Corona Impact. There you go. Metagross GX, Algrim GX does a backbreaking attack if that resolves. If that doesn't go checked by an N or some sort of shuffle ability, you probably won the game. It's hard to come back from a when you can stack your hand. Dawnwing's Necrozma, this is the one I was talking about with the basic Russian retreat. Invasion enables those pivot plays and gets things out of the active. Not sure. I mean, it does definitely take a hit with losing Floatstone, but there is that stadium that could give it free retreat. Mimikyu, we do lose those Mewtwo's and Mews, so maybe this might be a good alternative with Respawn KOs with Copycat on the Psychic Weak Pokemon. Again, Oricorio, yeah, it's seeing play right now. Maybe we'll see more play as we lose more Psychic attackers. Tapu Lele GX, probably one of the big winners. So we lose more physically good draw supporters. Having one that could fetch one for you is great. Wonder Tag, great consistency card, great card for finishing games, great for getting you back into games. Energive, again, another key attack. Sometimes people underestimate this attack, but once the energy starts stacking up, you'll be surprised how 2-hit KOs are still relevant in this game. Though 170 though it does become a magnet on the bench for knockouts, sometimes you just need to play it. Trubbish, this is the mill one that will go over the energy discard one in those Garbodor decks. Lunala GX, maybe Solgaleo GX. They hyped first GX Pokemon showed from two worlds ago. Haven't been really making much of an impact in any form in the competitive meta, but maybe they'll be seeing resurgence. The Greninja line, as we know it, is going to be going, but new Greninja line is taking its place. He got 70 HP Froakie and a Froakie that gets no retreat cost at the cost of HP. Then you get basically the Golbat Crobat line of sets past, and it's kind of a snipe, again a snipe centric deck that could go in a Greninja GX to further snipe and also deal some quick damage and shuffle back into your deck, and also has a good GX finisher, or like kind of homing attack on the bench. Being paired with Zoroark right now, so could be seeing more play. Countercatcher might see more play too. Just the way the matchups work now with people trying to play around beast rings and all that. Maybe we'll see Countercatcher. Escape Rope might see more play. Like these kind of switching cards in general, like Escape Rope, Super Scoop Up, Switch, might have to see those now come out of the bulk, come out of your deck boxes to replace Floatstones. Another card you could use if you're playing in Psychic or Dark is Alter the Moon. Keep in mind this effect is symmetrical, so your opponent can make use of this too. But it does give free retreat to your Dawn Wings, Necrozma. Mount Coronet, again, I think Steel might have... It was pretty much unchanged other than the supported lineup. Unaffected by this rotation, so Steel is still definitely Steel Metal. On the radar still. Another card, Ultra Space. Beast box decks are seeing a rise, and with a loss of some consistency draws, maybe this will be another way to smooth out those Ultra Beast Reliant decks. Seeing how they could exact their plan. Going into the supporters, maybe Crasher Wake might see some play. There could be some cool things where you could set up I don't know, Professor's Letter into Crasher Wake into 2 cards of your choice. Probably maybe 2 Alka Patch, I don't know. Could be a choice in Alka Box. This definitely frees up like at maybe like 7 spots, maybe even 8 depending on how certain decks run it, because we're losing 4 and 4 Sycamore. Cynthia definitely see 4, like at least 4 in the majority of decks. This card's too broken. The Cynthia is full art is reaching $100 on online shops. Shuffle Draw 6, really good in the upcoming format as it is already now. The Anthem might see some play if you're playing the fairy type decks like Gardevoir GX and Sylveon GX. Pretty good way to recycle those Guardies that get knocked out, or maybe you could use DCs or something to have a good return knockout and wear candies whatever you want. Guzma, a lot of decks playing 3, a lot of decks playing 4. Some might just be 4 might just be the play going into the format. We'll see. Hala again, since we're losing a lot of good draw supporters, maybe if you can maybe for decks that resolve their GXs early, like Drown Pod decks, Drown Pod Garb decks, or maybe sometimes even Boswell decks. Actually, they'd be losing Max Elixir, so I'm not sure. But yeah, any decks that get resolve their GX attacks fairly quickly can make use of Hala and the draw 7. Ilima, I mean, this saw some play in like mill decks and stall strategies, but maybe it might be a viable disruption tactic. Pokemon's infamous for its flippy effects, whether it's true or not as of late, but the ability to maybe put your opponent on 3 if they have like a massive hand, and maybe put you 6 if you want to put it that way. Sounds appealing, but you know, we have Cynthia, so maybe some 1-of, I don't know. Judge got reprinted. Maybe a good meeting point between the Ilma and if you just want to put them on 4, maybe you got maybe 4 is better than 3 if you hit the tails on Ilma. So another good way to at least pressure your opponent's hand. Maybe mix up and have them mix up their strategy. Lily. Now that Brigette is gone, I forgot to put Brigette in that deck. But we're definitely losing Brigette. That's a huge loss. Brigette is a huge loss to the supporter lineup. How the game is played right now is turn 1 Brigette in a lot of decks. Losing Brigette is a big loss. But since a lot of decks lose Brigette, maybe that leaves room for more Lily plays. Drawing potentially 8 cards on your first turn is like crazy. So Lily might see more play. Even then, drawing till you have 6s. Yeah, if you have no Sycamore, it's kind of puts in perspective how that might be a good card. Mallow, Zorak trade into Mallow into Zorak trade has been the classic combo since Zorak came out. Mallow able to literally stack your deck, 2 cards that you need, is a very powerful ability, and being able to fetch it with Tapu Lele is just nuts. So maybe Mallow will see more play. Mars, maybe a good disruption card, or a good choice for draw for disruption based decks, enabling you to draw 2 cards and then also putting an opponent off one of the cards in their hand. Maybe not too strong, but we'll see. Olivia, I like to play this in Buzzle Lycanroc, but doesn't really it pretty much sees no play. But with the loss of Brigette and other key draw supporters, maybe this would be a way to make sure you get your Zoraks out or whatever GXs you're running. Plumeria, another alternative for disruption decks to discard energies from the field. Discarding 2 cards is a hefty price, but you could discard anything on the field, so on your opponent's side of the field. So has that kind of advantage on Flare Grunt. Now we're losing Brigette, but we still got Fan Club. Pokemon Fan Club, a little bit different, but you still get 2 basics that you might need to make sure you enter the following turns with your key evolutions. We'll see how this goes. This could also grab Tapu Lele's, so you could probably, if you have like a dead hand, you could Lele, or you could Fan Club into a basic plus a Lele play supporter for next turn. Kukui, draw 2 and then pump for 20. It's a good tech in current decks to hit magic numbers, but hasn't really seen play outside of 1, maybe 2, but maybe we'll see more play since we lose so many slots in decks for draw supporters. Sophocles, maybe him to ditch 2, draw 4. It's not bad, but if you're top decking, good luck with that. Team Skullgrunt, again, stall decks could maybe use this if your opponent. That's another form of disruption if they're just trying to hold on energies. It did see some play early on when Ceylon GX came out, but kind of lost its slots, but maybe it's coming to come back in. Ultra Recon Squad, Ultra Beast decks are... Beast Box is a popular choice right now, and maybe this might be a way to kind of dump your useless Ultra Beasts and then draw some new cards with them. Wick, I don't like this card, but I like the art so much, and it does offer a disruption. Even though you neg yourself 1, does shuffle in your opponent's hand. I don't know, we'll see. I'll try a spicy one but maybe Wick will see play because it could shuffle your opponent's hand. Onto items. Bodybuilding dumbbells might see play. Plus 40 HP is pretty okay on stage 1s. Though Choice Band might just be at 4 in every deck now. I don't know. At least 3, but Choice Band will definitely staple. A skateboard might be something that might see play. If your Pokemon only has like 1 retreat, basically it becomes free retreat cost, and they could retreat with under sleep or paralysis, which is pretty cool. Not too many decks utilize that now, but some do. Pretty cool. Might be a floatstone option replacement. And since we do lose some energies, maybe like the unit energy cycle might see some play, as decks might be looking to play 2 types. This cycle could offer some choice in that regard. We're already seeing it. We're already seeing some play with like Cortana and like Carver decks. Also this one like Zorak and like I don't know. I think some Zorak Galley decks run, Gardevoir decks run this. I don't know. And maybe we'll see Warp Energy has Retreat on top of an energy attachment, but one card usually isn't a stellar play for attachments in turns, but we'll see. So this is like, I think some of the decks, these cards, with these decks and archetypes will definitely be impacted going forward. See how they adapt, and for like items and trainer lineups, see if any of these will see some play from 0 to at least 1, maybe from 3 to 4. We'll see how that unravels, but we'll have a better picture in June when the Japanese set will come out. That should come out here by September when the rotation hits. Just want to quickly go over to wrap this up some of the new cards we're getting. Sorry. Guess I can't. I was going to show some of the supporters, but from the upcoming set, but I guess I can't. But yeah, we're not really getting it. I just want to point out that we're not really getting any stellar supporters. We're getting reprint supporters from the like Sinai region, I believe, or like Diamond and Pearl era. Like Bill's Maintenance, there's like Blaine. They're not really powerful draw cards. They offer some draw, and there's like Zinnia and Lance that offer like dragon support, acceleration, Blaine type acceleration. Bill, a Copycat's a huge one. Maybe that'll be something to look into. Also, reporter, TV reporter, maybe. But yeah, so if you're looking to play in the upcoming standard in the 2019 season, be aware that the season does start sometime in early to mid-July for the 2019 season. So you still, if you have cards now, you could play in the current format and start getting championship points for the upcoming 2019 Worlds. But if you just want to wait till rotation, you just kind of want to start building a card pool, I suggest getting some of these staples like Zorak GX, Tapu Lele GX, Cynthia's, and then just kind of look into what decks you think might be viable. If you're on a budget, look for some budget options. But I definitely start picking up some staples like Guzma, Cynthia, maybe get some Lilies. Zorak's definitely, their prices have been down because prices have been kept down because it's a print as a promo. So yeah, I'd suggest picking up those now if you don't really want to play yet, but I do suggest playing a little bit now so you can get a feel of like what archetypes or types of decks you want to play. So come format rotation, you'll have an idea what to put your money on. So that's it for this video on the impacts of the 2019 TCG format rotation. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a nice day and goodbye.